Well, good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening, Smite fans, and welcome back to the SCC. It's week 2, day number 3, and the final set for that day. I am Supersonic Blur. Joining me to break down the set between the Athenian Sages and the Tyrian Weavers is the wonderful man on my left. Well, your right, my left. That is Spooky. Spooky, good to see you here.
Always a pleasure to be here with you, Blur, and I think you've really summed it up quite well. We've got an exciting, extremely exciting set here ahead of us. The Athenian Sages against the Tyrian Weavers. We've seen a little bit from these teams previously. Not as much as we'd like to see, though, so we're going to get to see a little bit more of them. Athenian Sages coming off a recent loss here. They had pretty good showing, though. A quick win in 2 rather long games. They were able to take past the 30-minute mark, past the 40-minute mark at one point even, but in the end, did end up falling to those Scorpions, weren't able to take home the win. The other side, though, Weavers, they've been struggling a little bit more. They haven't had quite as much success. See if things can change for either team here tonight.
Well, hopefully they will be able to do so. And we were talking a little bit just before we got on to the cast side of things. Picks and bans. It's always interesting with each meta. Sometimes first pick feels like it's the most valuable. Sometimes it's second pick. How is it sort of found for you? Because I'm looking at it and going, there's just so many good gods. It doesn't matter to some extent.
Yeah, and you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. At that point, second pick really becomes a little bit more valuable. Just because, okay, you're going to get rid of some bans, but you can easily leave up a couple more options that you want to play for yourselves. You just really ban away things that you don't want to see first picked, but you leave up some of the other good ones and force the opponent to ban away those top meta picks. And you just kind of get to do whatever you want. If you can leave 3 good options open for yourselves, feeling great on that.
Well, we'll have to see what those picks and bans are going to look like as we go ahead and get into game 1 here. Picks and bans, please, production. Thank you very much. Tyrian Weavers will be taking that first pick and the Athenian Sages on the second pick here. And going over all my notes from a massive book that has taken me far too long to compile, there have been some very standard first 3 bans here from both sides. Hawa, not necessarily one of them, though.
No, this one has been showing up a little bit more today. In fact, it's pretty much just today that's been showing up more. We saw Rapio on it a little bit earlier this morning. Didn't have the best performances in those games, but Weavers clearly respected enough not wanting to deal with it in this game. So clearly something that's kind of running around the SCC scene. These players probably are kind of getting the feeling that some of these teams like to take that. It's got good flex potential, and they don't really want to deal with that. They don't want to try to figure out, okay, is it going jungle? Is it going mid? Is it going some crazy thing with all the recent meta changes, like going to go Hubwa solo? I would let that happen personally, but, you know.
We've seen it. We've seen it. Yeah, it's some interesting stuff. I have, but then again, I am in the land of EU, so a lot of things are possible out this way. But this is NA. Another interesting point here. We see a Wheelish banned away, but the big one for me is Aphrodite was banned by the first pick team here from Tyrian Weavers. Emojo rounds out the top side of things. Now first pick open. A lot of good options. My brain immediately is going, Guan Yu, hell, we just saw Aurora come ahead and play a reasonable amount of time on it. Not had the best of luck. Maybe Tyrian Weavers will be able to do so here, but how's that for a first pick here, Spooky?
That's pretty much what I expected to see when I saw them ban away the Aphrodite. If the Sages aren't going to ban it away themselves, you can pretty much expect that the Weavers are going to be picking that up. That's why they didn't allow the Aphrodite in the game, is because they don't want to have as good of a healer on the other side. Hell gets you the cleanse, she gets you great sustain, and she's a little bit better than the Aphrodite in that she doesn't have to be linked to one person. She can just walk into her team and say, heals for everybody, have at it. She has an AoE cleanse, just a lot of really strong utility. But the Guan Yu is an excellent answer as well because he has excellent dive to get right on top of that hell. Hell has no heal for herself. She has no mobility. So if this Guan Yu just starts hopping on a horse and running her down, not a lot she could do about it except try to pre-cleanse the stun.
Very true. And as well, if you pre-cleanse that stun, guess what? Kernanos is going to polymorph you and everyone else around you in that process. It's a fantastic team fight potential from Sages. Tyrian Weavers answer back here with the Baba Yaga and the Hercules, 2 other top-tier gods in their role. And now to finish it off, terror. The team fight from Athenian Sages looks undisputable at this point here, Spooky.
Yeah, it's looking quite nasty right now. They've got the dive, they've got CC, they've got sustain, and they've got the Kurnos for the extra damage as well. Expect to see some mid bans come through here from the Weavers. Probably going to see Merlin taken off the board, maybe Agni as well, just to try to limit some more of what the Sages can do. Oh, that's a surprising one to me, I'm not going to lie. Okay. We have seen Serket come into popularity a little bit more after her changes. Crit chance passively on her ultimate now makes her just hit a little bit harder. Her abilities can just crit on their own. I don't know, if you're leaving these AoE mages up, you're taking a big risk in allowing the Sages to take whatever draft they want here.
That's very true here. We're talking about if the mage isn't picked up in the top 3, Agni, Merlin, get rid of them as soon as possible. But Athenian Sages say, hey, we got the Karnanos. You want your best other ADC in Ishtar? Well, that's gone. Hey, want a really good clear? Here's an army's gone. The Tyrian Weavers look to focus out that jungle role, which, again, going through that massive notebook, if the jungler has a good KDA by the end of the game, then you're likely having a good game for the entire team. So we'll see whether or not the Athenian Sages, their Mercury, will come away with a good slash line. Another very highly prioritized god here, but is it going to mesh well with this team right now?
I think it do very well with this team. It excels in diving into the backline. That's really what the Sages want to do with their current team. Guan Yu hops on a horse, leads the charge. Once he's in there, it sets up very easily for the Sonic Boom coming out from this Mercury.
Oh, hey,
all he has to do is find an entrance point. And with Guan Yu distracting, he can do it really however he wants to. He doesn't even have to use the Sonic Boom to get into the fight. He can just close the distance. He moves faster than most other gods. You like this Ratatoskr, though. It does add a little bit more pressure to the side of the Weavers. The question is, do they have a way to capitalize on that? Because Jingwei doesn't bring a ton of early pressure. This Hell isn't going to be really bringing all that much either. Yeah, she's a mage.
Whoa.
Your powers are mine.
Okay. Who's going mid? Never mind.
No.
Apparently we've been told that is production having a little bit of fun with us. It is not a nemesis going somewhere. Could have been too much fun, but don't worry about that. We'll get that sorted. And as you can see, just to follow up on your point, it's a very interesting one for me. It turns out there is a Merlin, not a Mercury. So fantastic mid presence. Yeah, forget everything we mentioned about that. Does Nemesis fit well with the Guan Yu dive?
I think the Nemesis still does a lot of what the Mercury does. Granted, she cannot do it from the same distance that the Mercury can, so she doesn't have that same kind of omnipresent threat. But she's still very good at jumping into the backline, and it's going to make the Guan Yu's job easier because she can simply target one of these tanks, likely going to be the Hercules, shred his prots down. All of a sudden, he can't survive anything. And once that initial front line is down, we saw earlier, this Hell is going to have a tough time surviving.
Nah, she may very well do, but with picks and bans all done, let's go ahead and jump on in and see how this game is won. Tyrian Weavers and the Athenian Sages here, looking to try and get at least one win under the win column here. And already here, something has piqued your curiosity, I hear.
That's an interesting one. You take a look at Nehu on this Merlin, he's gone with the Vampiric Shroud as his starter item, not going with the more typical Sands of Time, not going even for the gem. He's going for Lifesteal and P5. I haven't seen this one personally. It has good sustain the way the game goes. It does give you really good damage. And if his plan is to kind of focus people down with this fire stance, it's going to do massive amounts of shred. It comes with a risk, right? It doesn't give you quite as good mana sustain in the early game. It doesn't give you that cooldown. So you are going to have to find some CDR options further on in the build, whether you're looking at the Spear of Desto that's become popular, or if we're going to see a Chronos Pendant maybe get picked up. Have to wait and see on that one, but I'm excited to see.
I agree, and there's a lot of options here, and you mentioned how Tyrian Weavers have this sort of very defensive stance. Just hold that a sec. Snaddy! That's a bit more damage than I think Snaddy wanted here. Remakami will happily take a first blood. A very uncharacteristic response from the solo lane side for Tyrian Weavers here.
Yeah, I can't say that was I was expecting that solo lane to start off, but it's just action across the board. Grave also gets active. Nehu goes down very early on. I mean, that's
this is an EU game.
That's what they want. They want aggression.
Yeah, this ain't no EU game. We're 2 kills in, and not even 2 minutes on the board here. Just great work from Grave. Is now going to get run down for the Nemesis here. Grave looking to put a third one down into their namesake, but no such luck from that. But already, that pressure output. I was about to ask, like, oh yeah, Tyrian Weavers look like they've got a very passive defensive comp that's going to weather a storm. They're out here saying, nah, we're just going to take the fight to them early.
Well, honestly, Grave has the right idea. This Ratatosker should be getting active in this early game before Jangaru gets items online on this Nemesis. She's more basic attack focused. She does do hybrid. She does have good abilities, but Grave getting active in mid once again.
Ooh, scary look there. But no beads available for Neu, so couldn't even panic use them if they wanted to. But this little bit of pressure does mean that Jangaru does get one of the set of mid camps to themselves, whereas Tyrian Weavers will split them. And right now, there is a gold lead, sitting about 1,000 here, but Jangaru's taking all this solo farm away from Tyrian Weavers. So while the team may be suffering, Jangaru may not be feeling it so much. Yeah,
very, very good response from Jangaru there. He knows that the Weavers are on the other side, but Ramakami in some trouble here.
He might just be able to wiggle on out of this. 100 HP to his name. Will pop the mitigate wounds and gets to walk away from that one, but look at the timing on it. Jangaru right here as soon as the buff spawns. Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, Jangaru is playing this map about as well as he can right now. He knows that the Weavers have a little bit more pressure on their side right now, so he's just trying to play where Grave isn't. Goes towards those back camps, strips them away from this Ratatosker, goes over to this right side, not looking for the kill onto Ramakami. If he gets it, great, that's nice and all. But what's more important is that they just force Ramakami back and find a way to strip more XP away from the Weavers. You can take another look at that scoreboard there. It's still, gold hasn't shifted too much, but the fact that it hasn't shifted is because Jangaru is doing a good job of taking the farm away, but Grave is here again.
Good rat ult to go on in, and with the dash, Privative will end up falling all over a gold buff, and a beautiful look. It was something I was going to mention and ask about. This gold buff seems to be something that junglers tend to prioritize joining their duo lane for. I was wondering whether or not Jangaru might go that way, but Graves answered that question. And now that we're looking at it, first items coming online, both Spear of Desolation for Tripno and Nehu here. It's a lot of early penetration online for them.
Early pen, early CDR, great magical power on top of it all. Tripno is going to have just more rotations than Nehu right now on account of having 20% CDR versus the 10%. And frankly, Nehu's kind of struggling right now. He's only fallen once, but he's getting actively pressured out of this lane. Graves done a great job of setting Tripno up for success here. This Baba Yaga, if it's allowed to just kind of cook in the mid lane and farm up, is a real terror. And Nehu's just not very strong with this Merlin in the early game. I'd expect to keep seeing Grave put some attention over towards it. And you can already kind of see Promise up there on the left side, just kind of roaming around, looking wherever they can. Weavers are feeling very confident, and you can see it in how they're playing this map.
It looks to be the case, and then Promise roaming. Likely the reason is that Prophetic Cloak now built, as junglers spot each other out in that Fire Giant pit, so both solo laners are aware, hey, they want to go for a gank here, but unfortunately nothing ends up coming of it. But I like the recognition from Grave. Jangaru was over there last time. I need to be here, and that's where they are. So now we get to see another little attempt at this gold buff. No jungler is going to get involved, though Jangaru might, if this goes long. Keep an eye on that. Instead, it gets stolen away. Great work there from Shinigami.
Very unlucky for the Sages. They were trying to play that so carefully. Privative waiting for so long to pop that monolith. It ended up not mattering at all. Now, Grave.
Hello?
I'm going to get active on this blue buff. Keep an eye on the map. You can see Nehu and Jangaru are at red. Here starts the rotation.
It could be big. Snotty will walk forward. There's the Divine Retribution. But it goes on to Grave, who'll just dash away. And they'll take that quite handedly here. Did see Ramakami just walk a little bit further forward in case anyone got a little bit too cheeky, but unfortunately nothing for it. And at this point, Jengaru's got the Golden Blade. Is getting the ult forced really that worth it? Are they just going to power farm?
At this point, I would say it's still okay. You've effectively forced Grave away from the blue buff without having to actually commit too much. You don't go for any trades at that point, although Snatty does end up falling in the right side as the result anyway. Just needs to play that a little bit more carefully, I would say, over there. So now I would like to change my answer, Blur. No, it was not worth it.
Unfortunate situation there. Now 4-0 here under the 7-minute mark. That gold lead, it's incrementally trickled up a little bit right now, sitting around 2,500 gold or coming closer up to that section here. And that's an interesting point for me. 7 minutes, I'm thinking I want my supports to be rotating out of mid. I want them to be pushing there with the jungle. We're not seeing that here. Instead, we're seeing them all just try and go for this gold buff here. Jengaru looking to wrap around onto Grave. We'll go ahead and take the fight. We'll not get the buff. Unfortunately, Grave will be able to dart on away from there. Shinigami tries to chase, but it's not much. They've got to be careful, though, because there may be a follow-up if they're pathing back into lane is awkward. Unfortunately, though, doesn't look like the Tyrian Weavers will get so lucky on the response.
Weavers just continuing to try to press the aggression. Graves is just kind of running at the Sages right now. I'm not sure if he's just really feeling himself today, or if this Ratatosker is just a big comfort pick for Grave. But man, if I'm the Athenian Sages, I'm already looking at this being like, man, I don't want Grave to play this again in game 2. I don't care if I win, I don't care if I lose. Don't let him have this again. He's just way too confident. And now, an 8-minute Gold Fury being looked at.
Shinigami! 1 HP in a dream! 23
wow.
On the ticker there. Gets away with the airstrike. Somehow, Graves jumps on in. And you mentioned that Tyrian Weavers wanted that Gold Fury. Athenian Sages knew the whole time with that ward. Played it nicely. Didn't overcommit as soon as it went down. Waited for them to go in. I loved seeing that. And now it comes to an interesting point. This Hercules is 2 levels up. Is trying to steal your buffs. I don't think he's going to care if there is a rotation. When do you want to see this Hercules actually rotate and make an impact?
Right about now, I would say. Maybe not right now, but once we hit the 10-minute mark, I would say you can start looking to make some rotations out. Once you start seeing these objectives start to really be fought over. He has the teleport. That'll be up in 60 seconds. He can make these rotations incredibly easy right now. He's at a point where he can just kind of walk at people, and they're going to want to walk away from him. They're not going to really want to take what he's selling them, because he's not selling it as much as he's just grabbing you and pushing it into your face and making you take it, because he's just that kind of businessman, I guess. He's got a lot of damage. He's very aggressive. Lots of damage, lots of durability right now. He just finished his breastplate as well. It's going to be so hard to kill this Hercules. Douche's Club on the other side. At this point. Yeah, I mean, he's ahead. He is just snowballing right now. And there's not a lot that the Sages can actually do to stop it. At this point, he's too difficult to kill to warrant putting the resources into it. Now, Snatty just kind of has to deal with the problem. Sages are better off trying to play through this left side.
And they might just try and do that. And that was the thing I wanted, is we've seen these supports kind of sit. They've barely looked at mid. And that's what I was wondering. If you look at the supports right now, they have barely moved outside of Gold Fury. You look at the mid laners, they're hitting the same kind of levels as the solo laners. So why not try and put a little pressure out this way? But
one of the solo laners.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 2 solo laners this time. One in mid and one in the right side of the map. But Gold Fury, again, being looked at here by the Tyrian Weavers. Everyone from the Athenian Sages knows this, well, on this Gold Fury is melting pretty quickly. They are forced off, and the ults do come down. Graves, though, lands in. Nice knock-up, but it's just not enough damage at this point. Renjaru, though, ends up finding Grave in the process. Now with a home sweet home, they still are trying to chase out Primitive at this point. They just about get him away. They get Pyromancer. Athenian Sages just come up huge in that fight. They get Pyro and Graves And sure, they've still got Gold 3 to worry about, but Snatty's on the way, and so is this Nemesis.
The Sage is still in position, doing a good job of pushing the Weavers back off, and in fact, possibly looking to start this themselves. Wise enough. I'm actually not sure how Privative died there, because it looked like Shinigami was walking away from him by the time he died. I don't know if he took a hit from one of the roaming jungle harpies, but man, that just feels bad at that point. It was, like you said, though, Blur, excellent work from the Sages. Great job playing it carefully and patiently. Got themselves an objective, which is absolutely huge for the deficit they're in right now. It's not a huge deficit, but it's bigger than it should have been, given that it started at minute, 3? Getting the shutdown onto Grave is huge. The fact that Renjaru is the one who got it would be a big boost to the kill potential in that lane. Possibly enough to allow these supports to start roaming across the board here. Have some respect. Just have some respect, Remikami.
No, that's Remikami's second buff, you know. You got your first buff. What about second buff? Levinses, afternoon tea, all that stuff, you know. That's because, you've got the little buff, you know. That's like your Levinses snack in the cooldown buff. Second blue buff, that's the big one everyone wants, and
that's the main course.
Yeah, that's like your second one. And both of these two solo laners really like their blue buff, with their mana not being the biggest pool. Alright.
Yeah, they have a severe case of crippling blue buff addiction over in that
that's
right side of the map there. That is every solo laner. Every single one of them has that. But at least with these two, you can kind of say it's warranted. They're very heavily ability based, so they do chew through that mana quite a lot. Keep an eye. Jingaru, though, on that right side does take a peek for that right side, but still this Gold Fury being looked at. I think Jingaru might have gotten spotted.
Might have. Out comes the Ankh, and with the ultimate from Terra as well, and that pushes everyone away. Meanwhile, Remikami left high and dry. Jingaru picks that one up, so now there's not even any rotation potential from this Hercules. That's the second time now Tyrian Weavers have looked at a major objective, and the second time, they've just been denied.
Yeah, it feels like the Weavers have lost some of the confidence that they had, right? That gold lead has shored up a little bit. It's not quite as big as it used to be. And they just have not been finding any success with their aggression. First few kills, great, excellent, wonderful job. Now they're starting to trade back a little bit. And now it's not even trading, they're just giving kills back at this point. Once again, look at this Gold Fury. Can they do it a third time?
Let's see. Big rotation in. Snatty's rotation is pulled in huge. Terror walls come through, but even so, there's just not enough damage follow-up for them. Promise falls to about 30% health. And again, you're not allowed to do this. They are going to need to pick someone off from the Athenian Sages if they want to go for gold.
Yeah, that or don't group up for 3 people for a single Terra stun into a single Merlin pull. Good gracious, that was so much value. Natty tries to go for the invade himself. What didn't you know it? Denied. It seems to be the case of this game right now, Blur. It's just constant denials from each side. And
big
yet another one for you.
Yeah, big denial of Shinigami being allowed to exist in the game with a health bar right there. And I love that from Renjaru. Just the recognition, I'm going to walk at you and see a response. They dash, cripple immediately. But now, Tyrian Weavers looking to try and grab their own Pyromancer here. It did go down. Snatty used that to go ahead and take down the tier 1 tower in solo side. And finally, Remikami remembers to need to pick that one up. But looking at this point, 15 minutes into the game, I wouldn't say we're in the early game, but we're pretty solidly, comfortably in the mid game. And both these two teams seem to be at a bit of a standstill.
Yeah, this is very much an even game state right now. It's still the first Gold Fury being looked at. Thing is, as this game goes on, I do tend to favor the Sages a little bit more, just because of the draft that they have. This Merlin has so much shred and so much burst as the game goes on. You see Renjaru going for this crit build. Yes, Shinigami's also going for a crit build. But Shinigami doesn't have a Terra right next to him either. There's just so much going for the Sages the later this game goes. Snatty will soon reach a point where he can ult twice in a single team fight. all they really need is anti-heal, and they do have that. Divine Ruin online, Ankh online. I'm not sure how long the Weavers can play this game and make these dances around the objectives without full committing something.
It'll be a rough one for sure, and like we mentioned on the desk side of things, the team fight from Athenian Sages is absolutely indomitable here, and Tyrian Weavers haven't been able to try that pick comp off outside of the first couple of early punches they threw like 5 minutes into the game here. So now, every time a team fight occurs, surprise, surprise, the team fight drafted team is winning, but the other side of that is Athenian Sages have never pulled the Gold Fury here. Is there seemingly a reason for it?
I think they're just worried about the Ratatoskr ult and the possibility of Tripno coming in and just throwing a bunch of damage to them while they're on the objective. That seems to not be a concern right now, though, because, hey, there it is.
And look at that. Tyrian Weavers, when they were the ones starting it, couldn't defend and hold on to that. Athenian Sages, however, they'll sit there. They don't seem to care right now. Big Gold Fury, and look at that gold. It is actually in favor of the Athenian Sages at this point in time.
Yeah, Gold Fury will do that for you. Finally able to kick it back over their way, and it's like you said, the Sages are able to do that Fury very quickly. Partly because of the Merlin and Kurno's crit build shred damage, but also the fact that they stepped up to it and they simply did it. They didn't play the dance. They didn't stand around wondering, oh, are the Weavers going to step up? Or are they going to try to challenge us on this? Might get challenged here. Not going to do so. Not looking for the cutoff. The Weavers have been playing very carefully. They haven't been willing to actually commit to their objectives. When they see the Sages step forward, they say, okay, well, let's pull back a little bit and see what the Sages do. And that ends up always being enough to push them back. They have to actually make the decision to go for the objective. It's not too late. It's still an even game. But they have to do so before it becomes too late.
They could very well do so. Take a look at some of these levels coming online. Level 17 for the Guan Yu, 17 for the Merlin. Both these mid laners have been shockingly quiet. Again, we mentioned there's 2 solo lanes here. They've both kind of just been left to their own devices, and between the two of them, you've mentioned Merlin, huge amounts of shred. You mentioned going back to that first pickup with the starter item, late game, how damaging that could be for him. It's getting that way soon, and Jangaru now looking to blink on in, get everyone a little bit closer, a little bit quicker on that. Goes in with the ultimate, does not find enough damage to come away with a kill. Graves has a very good little supportive knock-up with the ult of themselves. Shinigami the target for now, but will be able to get away, so not much ends up happening, but it's the first time Jangaru has really looked over in this duo lane.
Yeah, looked over and didn't go super well. Grave had an excellent response with the Through the Cosmos, just dropping straight down and really disrupting the entire fight. Or better be careful going to his own camps right now. Still just a tale of really scaling, like you were mentioning there, Blur. Nehu is feeling pretty comfortable. He does have that tier 2 book online as well. Likely going to be the Soul Reaver going to be looked at there. Pyromancer also being looked at.
Go on. Oh, I would have loved Snidey to be able to walk up and take that. Instead, is forced to ult away from that engagement. Tyrian Weavers come up with a small victory here, but that is the second runic bomb. And I guess we've asked the question about the Gold Fury dances here, as Renjaru goes ahead and dutifully answers back the tower they lost. When do we start doing Fire Giant dances here? We're 20 minutes in. Is there a time both these two teams are saying, we can pull it now?
You know, Blur, normally, I was actually thinking, we won't see it for a little bit here. It's still pretty early. I was going off of how the Gold Fury had just been taken. And then I looked at the time and I realized, oh, wait, we're actually 20 minutes in. Why aren't we already looking at it? Like, it is because it's such an even game is the main reason that Fire Giant has been truly looked at just yet. Likely, we'll start seeing some Fire Giant glances when this Primal Fury comes up. Because what you really want to do is you want to have at least one of those going for you when you start this objective up to give you a little bit more shred, give you a little bit of an advantage in this Fire Giant fight. Because right now, you don't have an item advantage. You don't have map pressure going your way. Primal Fury is the main thing It'll get you an edge when it comes to this next objective. But the problem is if you spend too much time there, Fire Giant becomes very appealing to the team that isn't there.
Very true, and now that Primal Fury has just spawned on up. Snatty already the one leading the charge. Hell, they've even started attacking it just to try and gauge a response time for now. Pings are being called out on where Jangaru is. Promise, though, has to be the one to try and spearhead this. It looks like Athenian Sages want the fight a little bit more, considering all 5 members are here, but they'll patiently just go ahead and reset this one for now.
Yeah, Ramkami, not in position.
Is that airstrike?
To keep Snatty. Say again?
It was. I was going to say, Shinigami just was forced to ult. I'm wondering what from.
Just trying to get across the map, you know? Sometimes you just got to go a little bit further in a shorter amount of time.
All right. Well,
they've still got their great movement ability.
Yeah, that's definitely what we use that for. You're going to say what the next Marticorus waltz? Ult's the exact same idea?
Yes, actually. Do you not use it to just get into lane?
You know, I haven't. Maybe I should
try it next time.
That. I will have to try that, as trying it again. Athenian Sages are looking at this buff again.
Oh.
Out comes the ultimates, but no such luck. Athenian Sages get their second Fury, and a much nicer attempt this time, splitting Tyrian Weaver's priorities.
Weavers just have to be on top of these objectives. The Sages simply burn these things down way too fast for Weavers to not be there on startup. They don't have time to just say, oh, guys, they're on it. We have to get there now. No, once you know that they're on it, you have to already be there. Otherwise, it's too late. Sages just putting that into practice right there. Still, Gold Lead incredibly close. Still only 7 kills on the board. Surprisingly quiet for how much action was in this game at the start of things.
I know! It's a bait and switch. I'm here thinking, all right, let's get into the NA mindset, kill every minute, let's go, we're just going to fight for the sake of it. And then suddenly we get this masterclass in EU ways of objective calling, as Fire Giant is being looked at by the Tyrian Weavers, but they are swiftly denied the ability to do that for free. Instead, the Athenian Sages show up and put some health bars to about half. Remakami eats the brunt of that damage. No one's going to stick around on this. And just going back to that last point I wanted to mention, Snatty's positioning for that Primal Fury was beautiful, keeping multiple members out. And I love to see that from this Guan Yu, who's been soloed twice in the laning phase.
Yeah, he's not letting it affect him. He's now almost the same level, but Grave goes straight on in. It's disengaged from the stage. Can't they get out?
Remakami looking to try and pull someone back in, but the health bar gets too low to do so there, waiting for the golden opportunity. Never presented itself. Great work from the Athenian Sages to get what they came for, and Jaru just about gets away with their life. And as you've told me many a time, anything more than 1 HP is just extra.
That's right, and Renjaru certainly had extra, so I'm not sure why he didn't stay for the rest of the fight.
All right.
I am trolling. Just to be clear to chat, I am trolling. But no, excellent plays from the Weavers. Grave had a great initiation. Not being able to finish it up, though, not being able to kill Renjaru, means that they don't get to look at that Fire Giant. If they'd been able to finish that kill off, sure, start up and up, pull the Fire Giant, see if the Sages are willing to respond to it, take the 5v4. Now they just had to kind of disengage, sit back, and look for something else to do. With all the objectives being down, other than that FG, not a whole lot that the Weavers can really look towards right now. Lead has been growing steadily in favor of the Sages. Not debilitating by any means, and I highly doubt we'll actually see a significant gold lead at the rate this game is going. Most of the time when we get to this point, what really breaks these games open is 1 or 2 people being out of position, getting caught out, and being put on one of those longer respawn timers. You're not going to be having the item advantage. You're looking for the man advantage.
Very true in that point. And mentioning items real quick, Tripno here with the interesting one in their 5th item slot, as we do see a little bit of a fretting towards the Fire Giant here. Karen's Coin used to be really good, then kind of fell out of favor. Is it coming back in favor, or was this just a Tripno special?
I think this is partially because Tripno is playing the Baba Yaga. Gives you extra stacks on there. But also the recent pen changes have come through. Karen's Coin is still one of the better pen items. It simply gives you 16% there, gives you magical power, and it gives you some extra sustain, but more importantly, it gives you more movement speed as well as you get those stacks online. So it's going to give Tripno just a little bit more survivability alongside the same kind of burst that you're looking for. Ramakami, though, looking for the flank.
Oh, gets immediately ulted by the Nemesis, and watch that health bar shred down! Crushing walls! Absolutely huge work there. Renjaru credited with a kill, but the entire team played a part in taking down the Herculean task. And now, what did you say? You want one-man advantage, and you can get Fire Giant. Look where the Athenian sages are. They're on fire. They are not getting this for free. But that said, they are more than happy to take this engagement. Shinigami just evaporated, doesn't get to beads or ult or do anything there as Neu takes down Promise. And now it was a one-man advantage, is now suddenly a three-man. And I don't know whether or not Tyrian Reavers want to try that again.
That is generally how those numbers start to unfold. Good on Grave. He did still get actually 2 Aegis out from Nehu and Renjaru, which didn't actually find any value, by the way. They were used after he landed from the ultimate. But he got him out, is the main thing. Got 2 relics, cost you Fire Giant on all 5 of the Sages. Just too ambitious from Ramakami, man. He stepped all the way forward, looked for that flank. He had a good wraparound, but he didn't have the backup. There was no one there to support that endeavor. So all the Sages did was turn their heads and say, hey, those are Hercules here. Oh, 5 seconds later, never mind, there's no Hercules here. He's back in base now.
Hey, and that
just gives them the... Yeah, it's just that easy.
Yeah, the worst part is as well, we just saw the Pyromancer being pinged out. There is a ward on the Athenian Sage's side there. They knew that was happening the entire time. They let Ramakami walk into his death beautifully there. And like you said, just a simple take him down. And this is what that Nemesis does now late game.
Yeah, the Divine Retribution just makes it so easy to shred these tanky targets down. And Sage, they're just walking down this left side. Weaver's gonna have to be back in position for this bird defense, but they may just look for a clean tier 2 sweep here. It's not an enhanced Fire Giant just yet. It's just not gonna be breaking the base entirely. Got themselves...
That's a good start too. Ooh, I believe a Summoner just got thrown out there onto Ramakami, but in the end, no one else feels comfortable stepping up on the defense. Athenian Sages, like you said, maybe just be a sweep here for these towers, and if nothing else, that's going to give them each 1,500 gold to go back and buy the items to get the next Fire Giant to push that Phoenix's just a little bit easier here. And Tyrian Weavers now find themselves down 8,000 gold. And with all 5 members of the Athenian Sages knocking on their door as well. Snaddy, though, can't weather this one, so instead, they're just going to back this one up for now.
Remember how I said we weren't going to see too many significant gold leads? We're now at a significant gold lead. Well, yes and no, right? It is a significant amount of gold, but we're 30 minutes into this game. Most of these builds are almost entirely online at this point. So where is that gold really going towards? Sure, it's going to help you finish up a couple items, but you're really starting to look more towards your consumables, your red pots, your elixirs, and those are cheap on the pot end, 500 for the red potion. On the elixir side of things, those are a little bit more expensive. Those are around the 3K mark each.
Yeah, so, 6 times the price, a little more.
Yeah, so you got a lead of 8,000 gold. You split that between all 5 people. You're not getting 5 elixirs in any way, shape, or form, right? It's not quite that severe just yet. So the Tyrian Weavers do still have some fight back potential. In addition to that, that wasn't the enhanced Fire Giant. That's going to be coming up in a short amount of time here. And that's the one that the Weavers really need to fight over. If they can get themselves an advantage here, if Grave can find a good initiation alongside Ramakami, they're feeling just fine on that.
They may very well do so, but take a look at the Athenian Sages. all members right now have had a sentry ward in their back pocket and placed them out. They're going to have this entire side of the map lit up. I have no idea where Grave is going to be able to get the option to be able to ult in from. Athenian Sages have done such a good job of just hamstringing every member of the Tyrian Weavers. And if Grave is the first one in, he's going to get the Nemesis ult here.
Yeah, it's a fine line that they have to walk. Remakami has to basically lead the charge and pull the attention from the Sages onto himself to allow Grave the opportunity. But they have to do it quickly. They have to find the right moment. If you take too long for the follow-up, Remakami's dead or out of commission. If you go in too soon, they're simply going to blow you up and the team isn't going to be there in time. They are walking a tightrope right now. That window is closing more and more by the moment as the Sages take position around this FG.
And you can see how far forward they are, sitting outside of this Fire Giant pit. They have a nice little sort of semicircle around it where they are not letting any wards get placed. They are keeping control of this pit. And Tyrian Weaver's just trying to poke where they can, see if they can't wedge a finger in that ever so slowly closing windowsill. But it looks like now, though, they're just going to have to give this one up. Fire Giant is pulled. And it is, like you said, Remakami having to lead the charge, but Snaddy's positioning just pushes everyone away. Grave goes up. Athenian Sages, though, have the Fire Giant already. The fight, though, just isn't going the favor of Tyrian Weavers. Remakami is gone. The home sweet home damage is good, but everyone has disengaged. Grave may be looking to run and find a place for their own, but thankfully, no one on the Athenian Sages is going to keep that chase going. Instead, though, Pyromancer goes down again, an enhanced Fire Giant. But the Athenian Sages here with a 10k gold lead to boot.
Weavers need to be singing the praises of Grave for pulling all that attention away from his backline there. If the Sages had simply gone towards Shinigami, this game is over. Now, it's going to be a little bit of a fight.
I might still end up that way, but Shinigami forced away. Mid-Phoenix goes down as Jingaru goes ahead to try and split this focus onto the right-hand side, but no minions that way. In fact, minions fairly good for the Tyrian Weavers, but Athenian Sages, though, this is EFG, so backdoor protections don't gonna matter a whole lot here. And so right now we can already see Privative just goes ahead and tanks it up, and that second Phoenix melts just as quickly as the first. Tyrian Weavers down 2 Phoenixes. Do they have to Hail Mary here, or can they hold on the Titan?
Down 2 Phoenixes, down this much gold, still towards the end of your builds here. The Oni Fury is what's going to complicate things here. This is what makes things a lot more difficult for the Weavers. Add on to that, you're dealing with Merlin damage and Ranjaru crits. The dive from the Sages is just so good right now. If you can hold on until this EFG wears off, you're okay to play for the next one. But if the Sages are feeling aggressive, they're in a position where they can simply walk back in with these Oni Fire minions, and they can look to end this game off of those. The Weavers cannot let these Onis into their base. They have to be willing to step up and stop them in the lanes. Problem is, that is exactly what the Sages should be looking for. They want to find someone in those lanes outside the base, because that's just where they're vulnerable. If they can find a pick there, that breaks the game open for the Sages.
You can see already now everyone pushing down. Nemesis looking towards that mid lane in case anyone goes ahead to try and stop those Oni minions pushing in. But we'll spot 2, so instead we'll just slowly walk them down alongside here. The rest of the Sages now on this right-hand side. Tyrian Weavers need a do-or-die situation here. Their throat is currently being crushed under the heel of the Sages. And this mounting pressure in the left and mid lane. Remakami doing their best to look intimidating, but I'm not sure anyone's worried. Jengaru looking to split more attention this way. The Phoenix, though, is melting so quickly here. As long as the Hunter can get in, it's just not going to matter. Titan under duress as well. And finally, that third Phoenix goes down. Tyrian Weavers find themselves with their back against the walls. The Sages don't pull the trigger just yet. They find Shinigami, force the ult, and now they're forced away. Graves gets a huge pull within tandem from Remakami, but they just cannot put out damage. Tripno not tanky enough to weather this one. Falls. Shinigami finds a return kill, but the damage has already been done.
Man, excellently played from the Sages there. I'm not convinced this one is over just yet. Snatty wants some more, and they're going right back in.
Graves around the back, looking to try and blink on in, takes down Nehu. That's a lot of the damage, but it's still not going to matter. The Shinigami has to go back and try and push them in a weird turn of events, the Athenian Sages are backing into the Tyrian Weaver's Titan
That's not your base!
Sanctuary. It ain't their base, but it's going to be their grave point at this point in time. Snatty makes the rotation back around, but Renjaru gets taken down, and it's a double kill for Shinigami. Grave and Shinigami ignoring the front line, diving back to take down Nehu, and it all falls apart for the Sages.
I don't even know where to begin here, Blur. I was going to say, so well played from the Sages, sieging the right side while Jangaru just brings the Onis into the base to put the pressure onto the Titan, make sure that the Weavers had to back, and they threw it all away! They threw it all away, Blur! They were too aggressive, they tried to find too much after the fact. They had everything. They had all the birds down. And they retreated into the enemy base. You cannot get healing on the opposite side of the map. That's not how it works. Wait.
Oh boy. No,
Tripto's here. Tripto's here. It's fine.
Oh, I didn't know if that... I couldn't tell if that was Tripno or someone else, so I was concerned that may have been a problem for them. But this Titan... Sure, Tyrian Weavers have Fire Giant right now. Sure, their mid and left Phoenixes have respawned, but I don't think they can go on the offensive here.
They cannot. They're still very much on the back foot right now. But what they've done is they've taken opportunities away from the Sages. Until they took that Fire Giant, it was a game ender for the Athenian Sages. They simply walk in, take EFG, walk back down the mid lane. Okay, your Titan has no health. Bye-bye. They're going to have to do through a little bit more resistance for that now. Phoenixes have respawned on the left side and on that mid lane there. So there's some structures they have to get through. With how low that Titan is, may not even bother taking these birds down, but instead they'll have to fight through a 5 EFG team, the Tyrian Weavers, excuse me. They're not careful. One of them could get caught out very quickly here by Grave.
Grave blinks on in, gets the ultimate from the Nemesis, and can't get into the Cosmos! Goes into the ground, Renjaru's crits just hit too hard! And now we'll have to sit this one out. Good news is, though, the rest of the team has EFG, but even so, they've just lost their best secondary initiator.
Yeah, keep your eye on that right side as well. You can see Snatty make the rotation over, looking to bring these minions up. Sages can play this so slow.
He's got a runic bomb. Now Snatty's a threat here.
Oh no.
Jangaru in the mid lane, also threatening out some pressure here. Tyrian Weavers are just spread too thin.
They're spread with Tripno on the right side, and Sage is looking to take this left bird down.
They're going in for the end! That's it! They're actually going to end! They make everyone look to the left-hand side. Meanwhile, Snatty leads the cavalry charge in, and that's how you end the game. They may have let themselves get a little overzealous, but they still come away with a Game 1 win.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about whose Titan falls, whose is still standing. Sages, they can quickly put that little fumble behind them. They just had such a dominant map position at that point. Phoenix is down, Titan's so low. It was really hard for the Weavers to do much of anything to come back from that. They had to put up a perfect defense. They had to make sure they could get their right side Phoenix back up. And when Grave went down, that was really the point where things started to slip away from that potential defense. It's very hard to pull that off, even with the EFG in a 4v5.
A very rough look and end to the first game, and you can just see on this scoreline here, Shinigami and Grave both making hero plays towards the end of this, but it's just that constant mounting pressure. It's that 4v5, like you said, that small man advantage that builds up into such a huge problem here. And even Tripno going full damage still didn't feel like they could just do enough here.
Yeah, it was a tough position to be in. That's about the most you could say for it. It just felt like the Weavers were constantly on the back foot ever since they got their initial 2 kills. Sure, they found 3 more in relatively short order. But every time they stepped up to an objective, they were hesitant to pull the trigger. They didn't want to commit to it. They wanted to just try and scale up, it felt like. But the problem was that the Sages were scaling so much better. They had a better team composition for that. As the game went on, we started seeing more and more of these 5v5s. The difference in the drafts started to become more and more apparent. The quick shred from Nehu and Renjaru took those objectives down in a matter of seconds. And the simple pressure that Snatty was able to exert, even after being behind in that solo lane, the Weavers just couldn't get through it.
They certainly could not. But whether or not this is a playstyle issue or something in the draft that needs to be changed for Game 2, we'll have to find that out when we come back from this short break. But for now, don't go anywhere. After quite a difficult grind for the beginning of Game 1, the Athenian Sages just explode from a single Fire Giant man pick into all the Phoenixes, into an interesting throw, into then winning the game. Athenian Sages need just one more in this best of 3 here. The Tyrian Weavers, though, spooky, like, their comp had merit. They came out of the gates 2 kills in under 2 minutes, and then just kind of sat on it, and it just got pulled out from under them.
Yeah, it's like you said, that Fire Giant fight was the break point of the game, right? That's where the Sages really kind of blew things apart and started rolling and playing their own game plan. But even before that, the Weavers were struggling to get things going. They were consistently stepping up to objectives and allowing themselves to be stalled out, pushed away. They couldn't find a way past the initial initiation point. And if they want to find a win here and turn this set around, they're going to have to find something in their composition, in their actual team draft, to change that here.
Well, we'll have to see if they can do that here as we get into picks and bans for Game 2. My first thought is this front line, this Terror, this Guan Yu. Every time, like you mentioned, we see the Tyrian Weavers step up to go for the objective. They just immediately get stopped by Terror, not even doing much outside of throwing up the walls and maybe the ult. And immediately we're going to see a little bit of a difference here. Hell, going to be banned away first here by the Tyrian Weavers. So already, we're looking in the right direction, I think.
Look, I'm going to be honest. It doesn't matter who you ban. You could ban Terra away. You could ban Merlin away. If you're grouping 4 people up to all be hit by one single use of CC, that objective's not going to go very well for you. You need to see a little bit more better positioning, we'll call it, from the Weavers. But I do like that they're also adapting to what they think went wrong in game number 1. If this Terra was a problem, which it was, even if it wasn't the walls crashing down on them, often Primitive would just step into them, pop the ultimate, and suddenly all 5 people are affected. You can't make an objective fight like that. That's not going to go your way. Ban it away, take it off the board. 3 healers simply gone from the side of the Weavers. We can see their stance on the current meta.
Indeed, and again, they're the ones banning away this Aphrodite. That kind of feels to me like Promise doesn't want to play this. But that said, with what's available, I mean, I on a personal standpoint, I've not played. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to seem like a meta slave, so I'm gonna not pick the best gods. But Hobwa was banned away last game by the Tyrian Weavers. They are going to go ahead and pick this one up. Things like that Guan Yu, Ishtar, Karnanos, they're all still available here for the Athenian Sages.
Yeah, I don't think the Weavers are too concerned about the Guan Yu coming back. Ramakami was able to pretty easily handle that in the lane. I am concerned about the Hobwa, though, because the biggest strong point for Grave was his early Ratatoskr success. And this is an interesting one. Jingwei locked in by the Sages, taken away from the Weavers, acting sort of as a 4th ban, switching those around.
Yeah, I'm confused.
It almost feels like ego, Blur.
Kinda, but the weird thing is it's like, okay, you're gonna take away the Jingwei to put them on something else. But Karnanos was still available, Ishtar was still available. It's only the top 3 picks at this point. So they go ahead and end up passing over the Karnanos, now paired with a Horus. Could technically still be a flex here, could go solo, could go into the support role here, and Promise, I think for me that's one thing I want to see from Promise. I want to see something that they can be an initiate on, they can be in the front line on.
I'm thinking that this Horus is going over into the solo lane. I think that's just kind of where you want to put it against this Guan Yu. Sylvanas is an interesting one. It is a healer, not one that we've seen a whole lot of, but has some very good merit. Wrath of Terra is a very good ultimate ability if you can affect multiple people with it. It's more of a counter initiation tool rather than an actual, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to start the fight. I'm going to mess them all up with this. So it's a little bit of a different look than that Terra was. But Hercules being banned away as well. Sages may be expecting this horse to actually go towards that support role. That or they're just trying to kind of flex between the two.
I don't mind the call here, especially given how Snaddy had an unfortunate incident in the solo lane against this Hercules with Ramakami, who felt very comfortable on it. We see as well the Awilish, another one that was taken away last game, now with Daji. But there's still things like Humbats available for the Sages, and seeing how Jengaru also had the Nemesis, I'm not surprised to see something good for a team fight. Hey, look at that, it's a Humbats!
Hey, you called it.
This chair 2 thing.
You want to switch? I'll move over there.
I mean, I can. No, wait, that's the wrong way. I can go closer this way if it helps. But it's. I like my chair right now, so I'll stay here. As last 2 picks here from the Tyrian Weavers. I'll go ahead and do the chair 1 thing. I'm gonna ask you a question. The chair 2. What are you expecting to see here for the Tyrian Weavers?
I expect to see a Vamana. Oh wow, it's a Vamana. I'm also expecting a Baba Yaga to come out as well here. Oh wow, it's a Baba Yaga.
Hey,
I'm just too good
twice
at this,
as good as me.
Blur.
Twice as good as me. You stay in the chair 2, Roll at this point.
And
now,
I played myself.
looking to round out the draft. Then is Merlin still open? Nehu had a great looking game on it. Why not?
I think you either go Merlin or the Agni here. Either one looks incredibly good into this team composition. Both do a great job with the Hunbots and the Guan Yu. Zeus was not in my books. But I don't hate it.
See who played it? Because we genuinely had that was played.
Well, let's look at this though. Like there's 2 people diving from the side of Weavers. It's going to be the Horus. It's going to be the Vamana. And this doesn't mean the Horus is going to the support role. It's going to be Vamana in the solo. I don't know. Those are hard to get away from if you're a Zeus. You've got Sylvanas here. You've got Hunbots to start things off. If you can start the fight off by fearing 1, 2, 3 people into a wall, drop the Zeus ult on top, that's a 1 fight. You have won that fight. But if this front line gets onto Nehu before he can get that set up, things might be looking a little bit dicier than that.
They may very well do, and it's all eyes on this mid lane Zeus as we go ahead and get on into game number 2. The Athenian Sages want to go ahead and take this one down in 2. And we'll see whether or not this comp has the capacity to do it again, though, Spooky. We're seeing that same start come out from Nehu with this Vamp Shroud.
I'm not the biggest fan of this, because you know that Grave was very aggressive in this early game. He'll probably want to be active again here in the second game. So you've picked Zeus, who has great damage, fantastic damage. Love the damage. If you're wondering why I'm not saying anything else about him, it's because there is nothing else about him. He has damage, no mobility, no utility, no CC. He's very easy to kill. So you've kind of put yourself in a position where you have to play this early game extraordinarily well, or you're going to fall behind. And a Zeus from behind does not play very well because, as mentioned, he has nothing but the damage.
Agreed. I always equate it to a streaker. He runs onto the pitch, gets his kid off, and then tries to not get tackled by security. Now, security in this is usually the jungler, the ADC, the mid mage, basically anyone on the enemy team. But like you said, if they're just not got a threat, it's going to be a problem for them. But it's still early days here in the first minute of the game, and so far, no first blood in solo lane and no second blood in mid lane already. Athenian Sages having a better early game.
I'll be honest, bro, I don't like that analogy. I don't like that. I'm picturing Zeus, and I'm just not having a good time. That's not the mental image I wanted in my head from Zeus. Why did you do that?
That sounds like a you problem there, buddy. As you can see already now.
It's your fault.
But, you don't have to listen to me. Jengaru here.
Do have to.
I love this play here. Jengaru trying to get in on a Graves aggressively. Both wanted to be here for that gold buff, but now both of them in trouble. However, Grave has the watery hands, and that could be a problem for him. Give the monkey a bath. He's going back to base.
He is the one who started that fight. Jengaru wanted the aggression. He bit off a little bit more than he could chew. Yes, Habwa isn't the best early game jungler. Blur, do you know who also isn't the best early game jungler?
Nemesis. Mercury.
It's Hunbat.
Kali. Hunbat. I'll get there eventually.
Eventually you did. Once he's level 5, he becomes a lot more powerful, but until then, you're not really looking to make too many ganks. You're not looking to fight a whole lot. Unfortunately, Grave had a tier 2 Doom Orb online. It's a lot of damage that came through.
It is. And the other one as well, just cooldowns. Watery hands. It's like, what, like a 5-second cooldown? That one came up like 4 times in that engagement there. Just too much to deal with as now. It's Grave looking to get aggressive here. On the solo side, Snatty gets knocked up, and Ramakami picks it up again. Unfortunate look for them. It's a 0-second cooldown here, apparently. That's even more OP than we thought it was.
I believe it's about a 3-second cooldown, maybe 4 at the early game.
It's as long as it's passive, because I know there's synergy there.
His passive is 3 seconds, I believe, but you have to use another ability in order to keep it up.
3 seconds. There we go. We got it. Yeah. We got it. Clip it.
There we go. I'm still stuck on watery hands. I'm still stuck on that. That's living in my head. You've called it the watery hands ability. I'm never going to be able to think of it anything else.
That's what it is. That's what it do. Just like right now, Promise goes on in. The nice little wing kick. Fracture is the ability name, but I don't need to know that right now as Ramakami goes ahead and throws out the Colossal Fury and gets the cavalry charge available on a way. But Snatty sticks around. Graves here as well. This
risky.
It is risky, but he's far enough back that Grave is going to have to keep pushing up. He's got the ult if he wants it, but no blink. Had to respect the beads. Oh, Snatty, this is a game of chicken. You can't win right now, buddy.
I think he knows. I think he knows something is up. Yeah.
And he's fine.
Yeah, Snatty goes ahead. He just stays under the tower. Not going to give the opportunity over. He understands the situation he's in. Even if Grave isn't there, that's not a position he wants to step out of the tower for. Sure, the mini wave is there. He might lose some gold, but it's better than losing his life and losing out on all the gold and all the XP as well. Knows what he's doing. Plays a little bit safer than that. You know, a few ultimates actually coming out across the board. Shinigami also using it just to clear the wave, trying to get that reset off. Trying to get back early so he can get his Bloodforge online. Nope, just the tier 2 for now. But we'll take our time to get back up to that. Whoa, it's Dev Gloves.
All right, I was gonna ask like why we're seeing Devos come back, and did you think this could be Devos? But now I'll change that question. Why are we suddenly seeing Devos again? I thought you wanted movement speed and power and awesomeness, Bloodforge. Why are you building a stacking item here? But hold that a second. Snatty in trouble. Ramakami takes down one and finds a second target walking right in front of him. And so happily takes that one as well. Ramakami having a good time in the solo lane again. But I'm not going to get a chance to ask the questions as now the Tyrian Weavers are going very aggressively down into the backline. Zeus just about gets out of danger right now, but Grave, the same cannot be said for them. Tripno, though, comes in with the support of just being another body. Gets Grave out of a sticky situation.
Yeah, there's the issue with the Zeus right there, right? He gets dove on, answers back with some damage, but you put it down, and you just kind of have to hope that either you have CC to lock them down inside of it, or they, for some reason, choose to stand inside your lightning zone because they think it's a crazy dance party or something. Unfortunately, Nehu's not using that skin, so he can't go for that deception play.
Oh, Spooky, we are of the same brain. I was going to say, yeah, but he's not got the DJ Rave skin, so it wasn't working. But, kindred spirits, you and I, at this point. But
that's why
now we've got a lull in the action. Why the Devos pick up here from Shinigami?
I think it's partially just personal preference and the fact that they're trying to play for late game. They're not looking for a ton of action early on, and you can kind of see that in the way he uses his ultimate to just clear the wave, reset. He's not looking to take too many trades. He's not looking to burn these things down. He's trying to get as much going for him as possible. He wants a more traditional build. You can see he's also got the Gilded Arrow there. Farm is the name of the game for Shinigami and Renjaru right now. Renjaru, however, does go for the Blood Forge. Maybe looking a little bit more active in this early game. I have to see how that one works out.
We've seen this player before. Graves hanging around on the solo side and just backing away. Snaddy, though, goes aggressively, forces out Rimakami's ult, but now with only lifesteal, there's no major sustain for him. This Humbats could stick around a little more. As duo lane side, this gold buff is secured by Tyrian Weavers, but they are chased away thanks to Neu's rotation. And already this is such a big change from game one, where these mid laners just existed in mid lane as a second solo lane. They're already getting really active in this game. And is it just because it's a Zeus?
I mean, yeah, that's why. It's a Zeus. It's an easy target. They want to go ahead and find the kills there. They want to get Tripno ahead. And the easy way to do that is by putting Nehu behind. We touched on it earlier. A Zeus that's behind is not bringing anything of value to your team. His damage isn't going to be what it needs to be in order to have a meaningful impact. He doesn't have anything else in the kit. If you can stop him, keep him restrained in this mid lane, don't let him go anywhere, don't let him have a good time, don't let him free farm, Nehu's not going to have much fun. On the other hand, Nehu's a level up. He's still farming just fine.
I was going to say, he's somehow still managed to find himself a level up here. And the big thing I want to know is, we've mentioned that level 5 is when Humbats comes online. He's now level 8. He's got the extra CDR from Jotuns, and is working on that hi-rez CDR. We haven't seen a single time that Jengaru has been an initiator of an engagement right now. And so far, just more than content to power farm it up. If this game does go late, though, is that going to be a problem for the Athenian Sages? Just Humbats not doing anything?
I mean, if he doesn't do anything, then yeah. But even if he's an ult bot, it's still a really good ult. It's still an ultimate that can absolutely turn the entire flow of a fight straight over on its head. He's being a little bit reserved with it right now. He's not doing a whole lot. He's not looking for a lot of ganks. At the same time, he doesn't really need to just yet. His team is once again a team fight composition. He can just allow his teams to scale up and get to a point where they're now looking at the Gold Fury, and that's where he can start looking for his objectives.
Oh, another great play from Snaddy there. Just baiting Graves to continually stick around this left or this right-hand side. At this point, does Graves just cut the loss and say, I can't gank Snaddy, he's too tanky or positioned too far back?
Honestly, I would have made that call one rotation ago. I would have made the third one here. Graves has spent a lot of time on this right side, and he's not finding any value at all for it. I was going to say not a lot of value. It's any value. He hasn't been a factor in Snaddy going down. He hasn't been able to pressure this left side because he's spending so much time on the right. Gold Fury is going to be a conversation piece sooner rather than later. Brereton Jungler's going to have to be here for it.
Alright, burns the ultimate and gets the somersault from Jengaru. They do grab themselves the gold buff at the very least, so a little bit of protections now for Shinigami. But again, this passive situation of just farming up, at least the Devos is fully stacked, so that answers a little bit more from the player's mindset of what they want to do. But you said that the conversation piece is that Gold Fury. Do either of these two teams have a better look at it, as we're seeing Pyromancer goes down from the Sages, Zeus ult expended for it, but now is Gold Fury even on the table for the Athenian Sages right now?
It should still be in the books for them. Yes, they went ahead and they used the Zeus ult, but they still have all their other ultimates available. They still have the Fear No Evil. They still have the Wrath of Terra. They still have the Cavalry Charge from Snaddy as well. This is not an objective that by any means they're going to be giving up. And even without the Zeus ultimate, 3 charges is 3 charges. It's going to do a lot of damage with the detonate charges. they still have the ability to step up to this Gold Fury pit. The Weavers will probably be the ones looking at it first. Those should be the ones trying to initiate things there because they do have a slight advantage in that regard. But it's nothing that the Sages can't willingly and readily answer.
You make a good point there. And for me, the big one is the confirm damage. What have you got? Zeus, detonate. Okay, that's great. It's got a little bit of that wind up on it just so that people can Aegis it a bit better. But now you look at that. Hubwa crushing wave. Need I say any more at this point? It's pretty damn good when it comes to securing objectives. So I think, again, we might be in a weird situation where Tyrian Weavers are going to need to find that pick before they can feel comfortable going for it. And in part, I feel like it's got to be Jengaru. We haven't seen the ult come out at all, but the fact that it's even there kind of scares me for Tyrian Weavers going to do an objective.
The biggest issue that will come from Grave using Crushing Wave to secure the objective is purely positioning. If he uses it from the safety of his team, he's going to end up directly in front of the Athenian Sages. And that is simply a very easy Hubwa to kill. If he tries to do a little fancy feet footwork and get behind the Athenian Sages and ult towards his team, he probably dies on the approach. So one way or another, Brave will have to be in a bad spot for it. Oh, wow.
Hello. Big damage comes through onto Renjaru. Beads not needed to be expended. We'll just about get away with the ultimate on its own. That said, that is a TKO, so it may not be a full man pick, but the Athenian Sages need to go towards this Gold Fury. It's getting deleted so quickly, though. Tyrian Weavers will grab themselves a Gold Fury. That's a great objective look for them. No crushing wave needed, just a TKO.
Oh, you did it again. You called it. They needed to look for the man advantage. Maybe they didn't put anyone on the gray screen, but as you said, a TKO, that's going to be good enough. All they had to do was send someone back to the base. They found that opportunity right there. Sages, you get a little bit more vision up.
There's another opportunity. Double knock up, but it's not going to find them too much because Primitive has got themselves a second item. Magi's at this point in time, and talk to me about this one. Is why so suddenly shy about eating CC?
Well, if you look at the CC that's on the side of the Weavers, it's a really nasty CC chain. If you get hit by Promise, you get hit by the Fracture, you're eating Fracture, you're eating the Wing Gust, and we'll get back to that.
We'll get back to that in a moment, as we do see Jengaru and Primitive both try and use the ultimates, but unfortunately, members too far dispersed from Tyrian Weavers. It was a nice setup from Primitive. Two-man pull, or two-man route into a man pull, but unfortunately, no such luck on the TKO, and unfortunately, no CC hitting from the Athenian Sages, so maybe we don't see Magi's for anyone on the Tyrian Weavers needed.
Well, I'm actually surprised that went so poorly for the Sages. That's the first time we saw the Jengaru ultimate come out, and it really didn't do anything. The Weavers just kind of walked out of that one. I think the Blessing...
It looked pretty.
It did look pretty. It had some good music to it. It had a nice rhythm, a good beat. I was moving in my chair, personally. But back to the Magi's. It's a nasty CC chain. You don't want to be locked into the Kerninos Wild Hunt. And is also trying to avoid getting insta-burst by Grave as well. There's a lot of CC on the Weavers that can just lead to a bunch of damage meeting you. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a CC chain. It can come from a singular person. Grave hits the knockup. Okay, you're eating a water cannon. Probably eating a crushing wave as well. And then you're probably dead. At least in the early game, as far as Privet is concerned. As they scale up, though, they also want to look into those blessings, try to get their team a little bit more of an advantage as well there. So once someone does proc that Magi's blessing, depending on which emblem they go for...
Okay.
Oh, this is big. This is sneaky, but Sages are here.
As also, they're awarded out on this. They don't know Promise has no ult, but there's Promise's Magi. Goes down. Nice disengage with the Fear No Evil. But the Athenian Sages do lose that Pyromancer. So as a result, Tyrian Weavers find themselves about a 3,000 gold lead. Biggest gold lead they've had all set so far, but it's a starting point. And with all 5 members here, They're still looking to get aggressive here in this mid lane. Jingwei, though, happily pushing down this left-hand side. But with that, Tier 1 tower is gone. Runic Bond expended. And home sweet home from Trip? No. That one feels like an overcommittal, especially when Snaddy's proxying and Jingwei is still backing the base.
You know what? They got 3 ultimates out of the Sages on the Pyromancer. They'll go ahead and give the Sages a pity ult in the Baba Yaga as well there. But man, this Vaughn on Remakami is just insane right now. It's creating so much space. There's not a good answer on the side of the Sages for it right now. They haven't been able to stop Remakami from just walking at Nehu and force him out of the fights. Yes, Nehu hasn't died, but what has he done? He's 0-0-0. He hasn't been able to make an impact with this Zeus so far. He's got to find a way to do so because he's really going to be the break point for the Sages. If he can find a good ultimate and really put the damage out into a fight, Sages probably win that fight. The question now is at the Oni.
Indeed, in this Oni Fury, you want to see Zeus do some good damage. This is going to have to be the case, but Remakami has already found Zeus's number. Zeus drops the ult, and he's trying to get away, but it's not going to matter. He's just BZ, gets to walk away, Crushing Wave clips him, and that's another water cannon to take him down. They'll trade out 1-for-1 with Renjaru credited, but even so now, Snaddy's rotation in is immediately pushed away. The Fury gets taken down. In doing so, Tyrian Weavers notch that belt just that little bit tighter around the necks of the Sages.
It's just positioning from the Sages here, Blur. Nehu can't be up at the front because that's where Remakami is. Every time he steps up, it's just going to be big baby. Haha, let me walk at you for a little bit now. What's Nehu going to do? He's going to try to run away as a Zeus. Grave comes in. There's so much that the backline for the Sages has to be concerned about. And they just don't have a way to really truly stop it. Privative on the Sylvanas is not enough. He cannot stop a CC immune Vaughn walking at his backline. He's not going to be able to pull him. He's not going to be able to knock him up. He's CC immune. There's simply nothing that man can do. And with no mobility on the side of the Sages, there's nothing that Nehu can do to put distance between himself and Remakami. It's now a delicate dance on, can we position Nehu safely to ult over a wall and not get jumped by Remakami? Can we put enough people between the Zeus and the Vaughn to win a fight? Renjaru's doing a great job of putting the damage in where he can, but he's one Jingwei, and he's not full build. He's not going to be deleting Remakami from the game just yet.
I almost feel like you have to go with, like, the Paul idea whenever they were playing, like, this Hell or the Zeuses in the past, where it's like, all right, I'm going to buy Breastplate of Valor. I don't care if you're going to jump on me. It's going to take you longer to deal with. And maybe we end up seeing that come out, but it's one of those points actually I've been wanting to ask since the last game. The Baba Yaga felt very similar in the last game to this game, not feeling comfortable stepping up and putting out damage. They've been going full damage, and we saw the change up now. Karen's Coin's second item here. Do you think that they're going to need some defense as well, or is the dive just not as threatening coming through from the Sages?
I think the dive certainly is threatening coming through from the Sages. But at the same time, I don't believe that we need to see a whole lot of defense on Tripno here because he's Baba Yaga. He's got a leap. That leap gives mitigations while he channels it. And he also has the Home Sweet Home. Not just a CC immune ult, but one that knocks people away from him, grants him a shield, and puts a crap ton of damage onto the ground that chases people around. He is inherently much safer and much more secure on this Baba Yaga pick as opposed to something like this Zeus. So you can feel a lot more comfortable going for pure damage.
And we've still got that artillery style, unlike the Zeus, who has to kind of look at everywhere he's placing his abilities. Tripno can throw things over the wall, through the walls, wherever they decide. But 20 minutes is approaching. And so now everyone is hugging around this Pyromancer, looking for a pick that could potentially be a Fire Giant. But for now, it is just Pyromancer started up by the Tyrian Weavers. Snaddy trying to break their way on through, will not be successful in doing so. And so Tyrian Weavers grab themselves a Pyromancer. But this is a big response here coming through. Tyrian Weavers had all 5 members. Renjaru doesn't care. Renjaru's been split pushing this lane down near enough the entire game.
Jarvis is doing a fantastic job of it as well. If you take a look at the scoreboard right now and where the gold is at, it's been sitting around this 3K mark for like 10 minutes straight. Weavers have taken multiple objectives, but they haven't actually extended their gold lead. Right now, this is still a pretty even game. Remember, you have to split that 3K up. It's really close to 2,000. You split it up between 5 people, it's really not that big of an advantage. Just like a tier 1 and a ward, maybe. The Athenian Sages are still very much in this game. It's just a matter of getting into position and finding the ways to utilize the tools that they have in their box right now. That's been the biggest issue. They haven't been able to effectively put what they've drafted into practice. Cincinnati still a little bit behind. But as we get closer and closer to this level 20 mark, that's going to be less of an issue. And you're going to find these teams on much more even footing.
It certainly is. And if last game's anything to go by, 0-2 versus 2-0, yeah, Snaddy's completely fine with that. It's that impact in the team fight that he's had that's been so impactful. However, cannot deal with everyone all on their own. So now, Tyrian Weavers are going to go ahead and try and start up this Fire Giant. Promises, Magi's is stripped away by this Fire Giant, and that could cause trouble for them. Primitive ends up getting taken far below the HP bar. They want to be Grave in the backline, finds Nehu, but can't find the final shot. Jengaru surrounds Grave and takes them down. Now Promises here, and still just trying to put people safe, but Fire Giant started up. They're looking to try and keep this going. Even in a 4v5, they think that Athenian Sages have backed off. And true, many members have, but Snaddy's still around. And so is Renjaru, whose crits are going to hit pretty damn hard at this point. Remakami trying to keep everyone out, but his health bar is going down quickly. Tyrian Weavers, though, still get themselves this Fire Giant and are now not looking for a retreat. They're looking to push on forward as Renjaru gets taken down by Shinigami.
Excellent play from the Weavers. Sages had used every single ultimate that they had on their team. And the Weavers, they've done much the same, but they had one critical ability that was still left for them, Blur. That was Remakami's ultimate. They knew that he could still create all the space that they needed. Even if the Sages hadn't fully disengaged, they knew they didn't have the burst that they would need to take the Weavers down at that point. So they step up. They start the Fire Giant, and sure enough, those Sages come rolling on in, and they're just met with the big golden boy himself. Remakami does all the work they need in that fight. Now this lead is extended to the 4,000 mark. Now they're starting to look towards this Gold Fury once again to push it even further. This is the Weavers' breakpoint. This is where they've been playing to get to for the past 22 minutes.
And it's been pretty damn good to see. And the big thing for me is Jengaru's ults, even on the Nemesis, were always defensively. It was always someone from Tyrian Weavers is going in. I will use my ult to push them back. And yeah, Humbat's ult does that fantastically. But the problem is, if you're doing it to save someone, that's not winning your team a team fight. That's trying to peel. Yeah.
That's been pretty much the main issue from the Sages so far. They've been very reactive. They haven't been proactive in really any capacity so far. It's always the Weavers pushing the issue, which is an incredible thing to say because it's the exact flip-flop of the previous game. Before, the Weavers were scared to commit to anything. But it looks like they've learned their lesson from that. They've certainly been taking it to the Sages. Sages have been struggling to answer back. Jengaru needs to find more effective ultimate usage at this rate, because if they keep letting the Weavers step forward like this, they're not going to get anywhere. Unfortunately, Nehu is simply going to have to position somewhere that Remakami can't see him, and they'll have to find some way to get that ultimate out so that Jengaru can actually use Fear No Evil to disrupt a team fight rather than just trying to keep one of his backliners alive.
Well, with that Fire Giant in play for the Tyrian Weavers, they've gone ahead and got a little bit of structure pressure, mostly out in the duo lane side of things. That said, this is a fairly innocuous one. No major sieges right now, just a little bit of positioning checking right now, and maybe a little bit of buying up some more items. We can see most people now starting to get some big items online. Big one for me, Remakami feels tanky enough, is going for a second katana here. Snaddy not feeling quite as tanky, probably wants another health bar to go along with the one they've got. Like, what was all, like 3 abilities and already chunked down to 60%. Now we're going to see a bit more of a siege up on this right-hand side. With everyone here, Athenian Sages feel comfortable holding tier 2s.
Yeah, Sages have chosen their fight wisely. They knew that the Fire Giant was going to be falling off the Weavers. Now, so they're in position, just making sure that the Weavers can't step up to that tower and take it for free. You saw on the left side, they were willing to give towers up pretty much for free, uncontested. They don't want to give up more than they have to just yet. They're still looking for a way back into this game. If they want to find it, normally you're looking to kill these backliners. Normally you want to take Shinigami down, you want to kill Tripno, but frankly, Remakami has just been the problem. And it's so hard to find a way to kill him because he now has Spectral Armor online, Berserker Shield, probably getting a Hasten Katana as well. There's no getting away from this Vomit at this point.
Oh, I'd even be okay with seeing a Serrated Edge just to lean into that lifesteal if he really, really wanted to, but there's no major threat to him, like you said. So now Fire Giant will pull the Athenian Sages into a fight whether they want to or not. Remakami, looking to cause some chaos in the backline, goes straight there, and the fight is split wildly. But Neu finds a double kill off a beautifully placed ult. Tripno goes down, and now Renjaru finds Grave. Remakami takes down Snaddy, but it's too little too late. Renjaru just does enough, and Chingaru is still sat around. So all in all, leaving this at a 2-for-3 situation. Tyrian Weavers could not find the backline damage dealers.
Oh boy, Renjaru has found Remakami, though. Put some damage shots down. I'm not a big fan of Renjaru's decision to go after Promise there. If you saw where the Fire Giant's health was, I truly believe Renjaru could have just turned on that and finished that particular objective up for themselves. Now, could have been risky to do so. Remakami could have turned around, brought that fight back to Renjaru at the Fire Giant, but at that point, you would still have Snaddy alive. You'd still be in a better position to take that 3v1. As it is, though, Sages took what they could get. They took their small win. 3 for 2, still in their favor. Pushes that goal down a little bit. Not enough to completely shore up the deficit. Let's take it down to about 4,500. So I'm in a better position now to this next Fire Giant. Ultimate should be available for it. It's going to take a lot of work to recreate that same performance.
Indeed, and the big difference, Nehu's ultimate positioning did not feel pressured out in any way, so got to just use it to perfectly delete both Tripno and I believe it was Shinigami who got taken down in the response. So very nice work. Now we're on a bit more of a dance here and seeing where we go here. It's Pyromancer to start things off. Remakami again constantly looking for these sideways rotations in. Jingaru just trying to push up the mid lane, get that little bit more farm. Pyromancer is secured by the Athenian Sages. Tyrian Weavers backed off a little too much. So Athenian Sages will take what they can. Now, though, again, look at the warding right now around this Fire Giant. So many sentry wards. I wish people would do this in my games.
Well, you have to play comp to get that kind of warding blur. You're never going to find that in your ranked games. That's just not going to happen. I'm pretty sure everyone is telling each other, hey, buy wards. And unlike ranked, they can't just mute them and then move on. They actually have to hear what their teammates are saying. So good work getting that coverage down. And it's from both sides, too. Both teams have some good information. But if you take a look, the Weavers do have a little bit deeper wards onto the side of the Athenian Sages. Sages have the wards on their end, but they don't have the coverage on the side of the Weavers' jungles. They don't know exactly when the Weavers are approaching and from what angle. And that's going to be the biggest advantage. You can already see they're starting to get collapsed on just a little bit there.
Just a little bit, and that tells the tale of how the Athenian Sages are playing. Their ward coverage last game, all in Tyrian Weaver's jungle, because that's where they wanted to fight. Now, they do not want to fight around that side of the jungle. Snaddy doing everything he can to get away from that one. Runic bombs get thrown out. I'm not sure what the plan was there. Now, looking to go ahead and set up for another Fire Giant pull here. And it's Shadow Drinker for Remakami right now. So when they get themselves a kill, they will be moving and schmoving a little bit faster. And a little bit harder to notice if they stay that way. But trying to bait more members in from the Athenian Sages. It's not going well for the Tyrian Weavers this time. Remakami, however, can't really weather this storm too well. Out comes Jengaru's ult, even though not sure the plan was there. But they do go ahead and get Promise's ult. So it is a disengage from both of these two teams here. Not feeling comfortable sticking around.
Blur, I didn't like that. I did not like what I just saw there. Jengaru needed to do that so much earlier and on a completely different target. If you're going to ult Remakami, please do it before he uses his ult.
He's ulted.
Right? If he ults, just ult the people that are on the Fire Giant. Like, Jengaru spent that fight trying to zone Remakami out, while Snaddy was kind of dancing in front of the Fire Giant pit saying, "Oh, I'm going to get you. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm going to get you." I think if they switch places and have Jengaru just drop the Fear No Evil, it goes a little bit better for them.
Well, now they've got another chance to go ahead and set this one up. Snaddy, always the first one forward here, but now this Zeus damage is threatening a retreat just from the shield alone. That potential of spreading huge amounts of damage is a bit concerning for the Tyrian Weavers now. They're still 3k up as they tick over the 31-minute mark, and this Fire Giant could very well spell the end of this game if either team is not careful. So Snaddy goes in, eats a big Wild Hunt damage, and the health bars drop down so quickly. Again, Jengaru can't find a decent ultimate time here as Aegis and Renjaru's ult both used, and with that, Tyrian Weavers may not have gotten any major threats taken out, but they got all the major damage from the ultimates that they wanted. Now, looking right back to this Fire Giant, Snaddy is teleported in, and he'll push them off. In fact, Athenian Sages are actually taking this because they don't see any burst damage come through. They're looking to try and steal it away, but it's stolen from them! Tyrian Weavers grab it, and with two members on the reddest of HPs, they will disengage from it.
Man, the Sages thought they were bandits, but the Weavers just turned around and showed them how it's done. The fact that they are able to set everyone up to that Fire Giant at that health percentage, and they didn't confirm it, that is absolutely criminal. Now, Oni Fury also in some danger of being stolen away. They actually drop it?
They fear what Remakami's bringing, and he's bringing the entire squad with him. It was not a threat that the Athenian Sages wanted to deal with, and this just goes back to that concept I mentioned way back to the Gold Fury. What was the secure for Athenian Sages? It was now with Detonate. It's just not gonna cut it.
This is wild to watch right now. The Sages had the opportunity to come back, but they fumbled it a little bit here. It's still not the pits for them just yet, but right now the Weavers are just exerting pressure on the map. It's not that they're just decimating every fight. They just have this map in a chokehold right now, and it feels like the Sages don't feel like they can go anywhere. Everywhere you look, the Weavers are stepping forward, taking the fight here. Now, the left side bird, the Weavers want to unweave.
They can certainly try, but unfortunately no thread to pull on for now. 2v3 situation here. Promise losing their CC immunity, and as a result, they will try and back this one away. With this Oni Fury and Oni minions, though, there is still some good mounting pressure. It just don't feel comfortable, and if you're ever going to throw some defensive ults, it's now or never. Good ult from Zeus pushes everyone off of this Phoenix, but that's an ult down, and Tyrian Weavers can just go again.
And they've got EFG healing. They've got Promise. That Nahul is just not going to be enough to keep the Weavers off of this bird. It feels like the Sages are just jumping the gun on everything. All of their ultimates just feel like they're coming out at strange times. If you're going to use the Lightning Storm, it's often better to have it placed inside your Phoenix, where the Weavers are aggressing, to try to cut off their retreat and force them to take damage, or just off of the bird entirely. Placing it outside means they just disengage entirely.
Oh, Promise, we got to watch SPL do this. They're going to go ahead and drop ship some minions in from the other lane. Unfortunately, though, everyone on Tyrian Weavers doesn't feel comfortable.
There it is!
Takes down Shinigami. That's the ult we wanted to see. Now Snaddy can come around for a flank and spank in on to the rest of the members of the enemy team. It's not going well for him. Neu picks up Promise, and it's all gone peak tongue for the Tyrian Reavers. They wanted to find a thread to pull on, but they've unraveled themselves.
Nah, that is crucial for the Sages. They do lose that right side bird, but they are now standing 5 strong, 35 minutes into this game. Only 2 alive. Look at those death timers, 30 seconds on Shinigami Blur. Sages may just be making a run to try to take this bird down. Hard pressed to make an end call.
They might just try. They've got a runic bomb. They got 2 runic bombs.
Oh, they got it.
This is going to go down. That's fallen. It's still 14 seconds on Shinigami. They're going for it. Grave looking for a backline member. He needs to find them big, and it needs to come up now for the Lightning Storm. It's all gone wrong. Somehow the Athenian Sages hold on. 35 minutes. They are in a position where they're behind. 50 seconds, they find themselves ahead, and it is the last 50 seconds.
Wow.
What a game.
So, do you happen to have a crow on you? Because right now I am eating crow. I've just taken my words, shoved back into my face. I thought the ultimate from Nehu was going to be, kind of what cost them that left side bird. They just re-engage. Weavers aren't in too bad of a position. But Jangaru came through with the Fear No Evil Blur. That was all it took to finally flip things back around for the Sages. One ultimate under the bird forced Shinigami way out of position. He didn't want to be there. He didn't want to walk right up to the bird. His passive only works on other characters and the jungle monsters and the minions. It doesn't affect the structures like that.
Yeah, it was a rough one. It was an absolutely beautiful pull coming through from Privative there. That pull, pulling Shinigami in, and then the Hombat Soul, locking everyone else away, being able to turn this around. Remakami off in solo lane meant that no one else from Athenian Sages had to worry about, oh no, there's a Verman going to kill our mid laner, our ADC, our whoever. They were off dealing with a Phoenix. They purposefully letting that go. Such a great play, and a fitting play for the Athenian Sages with that wise call and a mastery of war on the battlefield to take that one down, and they get themselves a well-earned victory, not only in game but in this set.
I will say, it does strike me as odd that the Weavers decided to send Remakami over to that right side. Remakami was the reason that they were winning so many fights. The space that this Vamana created could not be overcome by the Sages. They were consistently being run down. They didn't have the damage to get through all the shielding. They didn't have a way to stop the CC immune ult. And so what do they do for their final call? They're looking to end the game. Hey, Remakami, you want to break from the team? You want to go fly solo for a little bit? Yeah, man, I'll get that Phoenix, no problem. Well, he got the Phoenix, but at what cost, Blur? At what cost?
Well, the cost was losing multiple members of their own team, losing their mid Phoenix, and then losing the game, unfortunately. So commiserations for the Tyrian Weavers. It was a fantastic set. I would absolutely love to see them keep going. But again, just Athenian Sages holding steadfast there. A lot of other teams would look at that game and go, well, let's just go to the next game. Game 3, we've still got one game in us. And like you said, I'm shocked that Remakami was the one who goes alone. If it's like Graves, someone who's also got kill potential, because we've seen that before from other teams in the past, that 4-1 mentality. So bringing that forward here was such a difficult look for what they were doing. And again, it never felt like Tyrian Weavers could push into those Phoenixes because of just that fear no evil fear.
Yeah, if they'd been able to pull that out of Jengaru, try to bait it out like they had done from Nehu's ult, that would have been their go button. Unfortunately, they tried to push things a little bit too much, a little bit too early. Ends up costing them big time, but fantastic play all around from both sides. No one can say that the Weavers weren't in control of that game from pretty much start to finish there. They put up a great show. Just one mistake at the end when these games start getting long. That's all it really takes to flip things around.
It is. So again, commiserations are in order for the Tyrian Weavers, but that is not to say that congratulations aren't in order for the Athenian Sages on their first win and their 2-0 victory here. But with that, Spooky, that rounds out the SCC week 2, excuse me. Next week, we have week 3 coming around for you. We hope that we'll be able to see you all there. But for now, I have been Supersonic Blur. That handsome young devil over there is Spooky. Thank you very much to everyone who's watched this production and producers on the backside of things for letting you guys see it. But for now, it's time to peach it. Take care.